Hi guys, welcome to this Money Control live stream. You're watching Morning Trade with me, Nandita Khemka. It's a Friday morning, but the cues coming out of global markets are fairly tepid and subdued given the fact that Asian markets are in the red and the cues from Wall Street also are nothing encouraging this morning. But lots of stocks in focus. We'll be talking about all that. And we'll also be getting all your stock-related queries answered by our experts. So if you have any queries, send them in to us on our YouTube feed and we will take them up. But before we do all that, let's take a look at the top headlines at this hour. Wall Street clocks a third straight day of losses. The Dow slips below the 20 DMA and all three indices are on track for weekly losses. The 10-year Treasury yield rises to its highest level since October as minutes of the Fed July meeting suggest that more rate hikes could be on the anvil. Asian markets drift lower following weak cues from Wall Street. Inflation in Japan comes in at 3.1% versus estimates of a 3.3% rise. While Chinese developer Evergrande has filed for bankruptcy protection in the US. The GIFT Nifty, meanwhile, is implying a lower start for the Indian market. Oil prices rise after three straight sessions of decline as the dollar pulls back. Gold, meanwhile, hits a 5-month low on the back of rising yields and expectations of further rate hikes by the US. In the latest index rejig, ACC, Nykaa, HDFC, AMC will all be out of the Nifty Next 50 index effective from the 29th of September. Replacements include PNB, Shriram Finance, Trent, TVS Motor as well as Zydus Life. Well, footwear stocks have been in focus, especially after, the news break by CNBC TV 18 that, Bata or in fact Adidas may be exploring a partnership, a strategic partnership with Bata. Well, we saw the shares of Bata rally over 5% in yesterday's session. So whether it's the right time to step into some of these footwear stocks or not, let's get on board our first guest for today, Preeyam Tolia, who's a senior research analyst FMCG at Axis Securities, to answer some of the questions regarding the footwear stocks. Good morning, Preeyam. Good to have you on the show. Before I speak about Bata, I want to get in your overall your thoughts on the overall footwear sector. The premium versus value players. How are they stacked up versus each other when it comes to the footwear space?
Thank you. Good morning, Nandita. So we believe that the overall footwear play in the consumption space has a lot of tailwinds for a longer term basis. And the most important is the formalization trend, where more and more consumers are looking for the branded options. Also, the low penetration compared to the global has, it's an interesting space to look for the investors in the footwear. Also, in the short term, there is a demand compression in terms of value side of the segment. However, we believe that the overall footwear is likely to, recover in the second half of FY24, led by the festive and the wedding season.
All right, that's the view on the entire footwear space. But speaking specifically about Bata, CNBC TV 18 has broken this, exclusive yesterday that Adidas may be exploring a strategic tie-up with Bata. In light of this, how do you view this stock in the near term? Should one look at this stock now?
See, so the Adidas news with regards to Bata is very positive. If you see from the Bata's angle, so they are, trying to enter into casualization. I mean, the casual space of the segment, right? Earlier, the Bata was only into formals and schools, right? So they didn't have the space in the casual side of the footwear. So over the last 2-3 years, they are, expanding the portfolio in the casual space. Moreover, the partnership with the Adidas will provide a huge legroom for the company, given they have the limited presence in the sports and athleisure segment. And please note that the SNA segment is the fastest growing segment in the entire footwear space. So any partnership deal with, though the management has clarified that they are not looking as of now, but also they will give the press release if there is any development on that front. So we believe that, the Adidas deal, if goes through, will be positive for the Bata.
All right, that's the view on Bata then. But let's also speak about Relaxo. Earnings were pretty good this time around, and but the stock, of course, has been under pressure for the last few quarters. What's your outlook on this stock going forward? Do you think it's on path to recovery now?
So yeah, so we are very positive on the Relaxo front because if you see since last several quarters, it has facing several challenges in terms of demand as well as the raw material front, right? So demand because the rural has been impacted since last 1.5 years. So overall volume growth has been tapered for the company. Also on the margins front, they were facing challenges in terms of the raw material because of the volatility in raw material prices. There was impact on the margins. So we believe that going ahead with the rural recovery on the cards and stable raw material prices likely to drive the volume growth and as well as the margins for the company in the coming quarters. So yeah, so we are very positive on the Relaxo as of now.
All right, that's the view on the entire footwear segment. With that, we're running out of time. Thanks a lot, Preeyam, for taking out time and joining in this morning and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Well, with that, let's shift focus and get in our technical expert for today, Raja Venkatraman of Neotrader joining in this morning. Good morning, Raja. Good to have you as always. Yesterday, it was a day of weakness. Over the last few sessions, we had seen Nifty stage a very smart comeback in the last hour of trade, but that didn't happen yesterday and we ended below that 19,400 mark. How's the setup looking like for today, given the fact that GIFT Nifty is hinting at a lower start?
Yeah, so like you rightly said, the start is definitely going to be on the weaker side. And well, the kind of global cues which we are getting at the moment are definitely not encouraging. And that is what is prompting to this kind of a move. And when you take a look at the kind of option data which is visible, there is a steady call writing happening at higher levels, and that is what is causing this kind of pain. And I believe that this pain could extend for the next few days as well. So what's happening right now is it's becoming a very stock specific action. So one should focus on certain stocks which are carrying on their agenda of either going to the upside or going to the downside, and avoid stocks which are unclear. And that is very much possible to observe because the stocks which are doing well are continuing from their previous day's price action, and that's what is giving us a clue of what's going to happen. And when I take a look at the kind of Nifty and Bank Nifty levels, I would look for a break below 43,500 in Bank Nifty to turn further bearish, and a closing below 19,300 is required in Nifty. Unless and until that happens, I don't think there is a cause to worry. And one thing what we should note at the end of today's session is that today is it's been a steady phase of decline, and we are trading into the last trading day of the week. So it could possibly happen that there will be some short covering action probably towards the second half of the day, and those who are short should look to cover their positions towards the second half of the day, because the short covering action is largely triggered by the overnight hangover and a large phase of decline which has been seen. So 19,300 on the downside and 43,500 on the downside are the supports which I'm looking at in Bank Nifty. Upside continues to remain capped, but then that is something which we'll have to take a look in the next week.
All right, that's the view. Maybe you could see some short covering in the second half of the session. But let's also talk about the stock of the day, LTIMindtree. US insurer Aflac has selected the company as its digital transformation partner. In fact, LTIMindtree will digitally transform Aflac by leveraging cloud-native services from Amazon Web Services. If you look at the stock, Raja, over the last 1 month, it's just about 2% up or thereabouts, but it has started to pick up steam from the first week of August. What are the levels that you'll be watching out for on LTIMindtree, given the fact that 5,188 is the 52-week high and it's just about 100 rupees away from that?
Yeah, so when you take a look at this entire trajectory of this sector, the sector has been a mixed bag, and there has been sporadic actions from certain names at certain points in time. So there is not really a trended action witnessed in this sector. So that's why you're drilling down into some stock specific news. Now, when you go down to LTIMindtree, I find that the run which we saw in the last few days in this month has hit a resistance zone around 5,200, and that would be a tough zone to crack. Yes, there is a positive news. The challenges again would be around this level. So if you initiate a long, your target zone would be around 5,200. Now, if there were a decline right? We'll have to trade what the market is going to react to these news. So then the decline could possibly take it towards 4850 to 4900.
All right, that's the view on LTIMindtree then. But let's take up a few queries that are trickling in this morning on our feed. Mohit Anand Bhatia wants to know your thoughts on Adani Power, of course, after the recent $1 billion stake buy by GQG. We've seen some bit of action in the stock. Where do you expect it to head from here? More upside?
Yeah, Adani Power seems to be intact, and like all the Adani stocks which have recovered significantly post its Hindenburg's scenario, the move has been quite prolific, and I expect that the stock could head towards the region of around 350 within the next 6 months.
All right, that's the view on that stock then. But let's also talk about some of the stocks that are in the news this morning. We have PNB and TVS Motor that will be included in the Nifty Next 50 index from the 29th of September. Outlook on these two stocks now, Raja?
Yeah, PNB has been a slow mover but a steady mover. So now when you take a look at PNB is definitely poised to head higher. Yes, there was a phase of consolidation, and now this news seems to have already been factored in, and it seems to be taking the prices higher. We've seen a move in from July to August by more than 20% move, and I expect that this move should continue, and you should see a targets of around 75 within the next 3 months.
All right, that's the view on these two stocks then. What about, an IOC for that matter? We have a couple of queries coming in, KRK Rao and we have Parth Chaudhary. Both of them want to know your thoughts on IOC. In the oil marketing space, do you think IOC is best poised right now, or do you think one should look at a BPCL or HPCL for that matter?
Considering the way the crude prices are behaving, I think that oil market companies should be left aside unless you are looking on the short side, because IOC or BPCL both are having some bearish trends of they are having a bearish bias, and the tendency to drift lower is very much higher. So I would not be a buyer in both of them. Rather, if you are looking at lower levels in BPCL, those lower levels are emerging around 340. So if it goes around that region, 340 to 330 region, that would be a good zone to buy into BPCL rather than IOC.
Right, that's the view. Hope that answers your query. Before I take up more queries, I want to get in your thoughts on Nykaa as well, Raja. Of course, numbers weren't all that great. We saw the stock react to it, and now it will be exiting the Nifty Next 50 index as well. More bad news for the stock as such. But would you advise investors to steer clear of Nykaa when it comes to the new age stocks?
Yeah, definitely. And the news flow which you mentioned would only trigger the pain further. We have discussed this stock earlier in the show, and the entire trajectory has not been very pleasant. And I think that this stock would head further down, and maybe it would challenge its previous low around 114, 115 as well.
All right, that's the view on Nykaa then. But let me get in a query on Ashok Leyland. Harshal Tatia wants to know your thoughts on this stock. Of course, after the PM e-bus Seva, the funds that were allocated for that scheme to boost EV adoption, you think a lot of these companies, the EV makers have seen a rally coming in, the likes of Ashok Leyland, you have Olectra, JBM Auto, all these stand to benefit in terms of order book. So Ashok Leyland, do you think it's one of the best buys when it comes to EV makers?
One thing what we should consider is that the announcement is on one side and the reality is on the other. So right now, what is happening is people are reacting based on the announcement. One should take these announcements with a pinch of salt, and one should invest wisely. And when you take a look at Ashok Leyland, yes, the trajectory is definitely on the upside. But then I feel that if you are really looking to encash this news, then Olectra would be a better bet. Tata Motor would be a better bet rather than Ashok Leyland.
All right, I hope that answers your query. But the next stock on my radar is Birlasoft. We have a query coming in from Vinay. Wants to know your thoughts. The stock was up 4% yesterday, and over the last 5 sessions, of course, 5% or thereabouts. Yesterday, it did hit a 52-week high as well. 500 knocking on the door for this stock?
Yeah, definitely. This stock has been a very underrated stock. It's moving quietly behind the scenes, and it has done remarkably well compared to the other peers in the similar field. And the trajectory which we have seen from April to now, the stock has almost doubled within 4 months. So, which is a phenomenal move. And the kind of momentum which it is displaying shows that it can continue further.
A thought then on Birlasoft. Hope that answers your query. But let me talk about South Indian Bank. It has, the RBI has in fact approved for PR Seshadri to be appointed as the next MD and CEO of the company. And, we also have a couple of queries coming in on some of the mid-cap banks like Federal Bank and Karnataka Bank on our feed. Among the three, how is the outlook looking out for, some of these stocks, South Indian Bank, Federal, Karnataka? Would you advise investors to pick up some of these now?
Yeah, see, when you look at South Indian Bank, it's only trying to go up, but it has not been able to sustain the up move. So sustenance is very important. So between the names which you mentioned, South Indian Bank, Federal Bank, and which is the other bank which you mentioned?
South Indian Bank, Karnataka Bank and Federal Bank.
Karnataka Bank. So Karnataka Bank seems to be a better bet. But then what I would like everyone to focus their attention on is Indian Bank. Indian Bank is moving phenomenally well, and Karnataka Bank is also showing a similar traction. So between Karnataka Bank and Indian Bank, the order will be first Indian Bank and then Karnataka Bank. So Indian Bank is also another overlooked banking stock which hardly anyone discusses, but then the movement in that is quite prolific, and one should definitely look at that from an investment perspective.
All right, Indian Bank is looking attractive at the current juncture, but let's also talk about a Polyplex. We have a query coming in from Satya CK. Wants to know your thoughts. Of course, this stock has been under immense pressure. In fact, last 5 days it has shaved off somewhere around 12%, very close to 52-week lows. How should one go about trading into this stock?
Yeah, you have yourself answered the query. It's at 52-week low, so best is to stay away.
All right, stay away from Polyplex. Hope that answers your query. Let's take up a query on Equitas now falling from for several days continuously. We have Rakesh who wants to know your thoughts. What about Equitas now? Do you see more pain going forward?
Yeah, Equitas did have a good run till the beginning of August, and post that there has been some steady profit booking considering the move which we have seen. The stock has doubled in this year, and now we are witnessing a profit booking action, and if the stock could find some floor at around 75 levels, till then one should stay away.
All right, stay away is the call then on that stock. But let's talk about Reddington. We have a query coming in from Shankar and wants to know your thoughts on where the stock is headed. I think over the last 1 month, it has lost somewhere around 15% or thereabouts. How should one look at this now, Reddington? Do you think it's time to buy on dips or steer clear?
Reddington is showing some buying levels at lower levels. There's some buying interest developing, so one could place a stop loss below 140 and enter into this trade.
All right, that's the view then on that. But let's talk about an NTPC. There is a bit of news that the company is, in fact, it has inked a pact to hive off its mining business to its subsidiary. And this will be happening via a business transfer agreement from the power space, which has been abuzz. Do you think NTPC merits a look right now?
NTPC is, first of all, a slow mover. So one should decide how they want to approach this stock. Now, this particular stock has shown some good promise, and the kind of initiatives which the government is giving for the power sector, I definitely think that this stock has got more potential. And you can buy at current levels. You can use dips towards 200 to buy into with a stop at 190. And the expected target is around 260 by the end of this year.
All right, 260 levels by the end of the year on NTPC. But let's talk about a Cochin shipyard. This stock has been cruising along, and how I think over the last 2 sessions itself, it has gained over 25% or thereabouts. We have a couple of queries also on our live feed. How should one ride this rally? Should one stick to it and wait for more up move before booking profits?
Yeah, see, these kind of moves are, like a lifetime moves which comes. So if you see here in last 1 week, the stock has moved up by around 200 plus points. So it's always wise in such markets to keep booking profits, all right, and use the dips to buy into. So once you've identified that this stock is in a good space, the defense space, and the defense space is robust. So my suggestion to anyone is keep booking profits, look for lower levels to buy into because the stock is going definitely headed north. Now, if it gives you a correction, you will get an opportunity to buy again. So it is better to book some profits, keep some money in your pocket, and then use the dips to buy and reinvest.
All right, that's the view then. Let's take up a query on Varun Beverages. The stock has been in an uptrend over the last 6 months, I think up 30% or thereabouts. If somebody wants to, book profits right now, would it be an opportune time or, should one stay invested at the juncture?
Yeah, one should definitely track such stocks like the stocks whichever you are mentioning, Cochin Shipyard, Varun Beverages. This stock is having a very good trajectory upward, and one should buy into this stock. Use dips to buy into. Like yesterday, for example, the stock moved quite well, and then there was heavy profit booking from higher levels, close to around 50 points. So what does this mean? It means that people at higher levels are booking profits, so that would be an advice for anyone who are going to participate now because the market definitely is having a good momentum to the upside. And what we are seeing right now is a healthy correction, and it's not a bearish market which one would tend to think of.
Right, that's the view on Varun Beverages. Then I hope that answers your query. This one was from Saurabh. But let's also get into your thoughts on the banking behemoth, SBI. Tina Jacob wants to know your thoughts. Of course, after earnings, it hasn't really been able to do much. The stock has been under pressure. It could be attributed to the margin pressure that it saw in the first quarter. But going forward, do you think this is the time to buy into this one? Because it is heading towards its 52-week highs, but maybe a dip could be utilized to enter into this?
Yeah, SBI has always never performed as per expectation, and even this time around, there was high expectations on SBI, but that never really matured into a good trend. So now, yes, it does have weightage, but it is not creating the kind of impact. And if you see over the last 8 months, it has not done anything much except damage your intentions. So I would not be a participant in SBI for some time.
All right. Raja won't advise participating or buying into SBI at the current juncture. All right. One last query then. Want to take it up on Jubilant Ingravia. Stock was quite active yesterday, up 5% or thereabouts. What would you advise investors to do with this stock? Sachin Kumar Singh wants to know your thoughts.
Yeah, so this stock, after its sharp move and then a sharp fall since the last 2 years, almost 1.5 years, the stock is showing some semblance of recovery. Yes, the stock is definitely showing some intentions to move higher. So this could be a good time to invest into the stock because your risk is at a low level. And if markets after this correction which we have seen, if it starts picking up from here on, then this could be a good time to enter into the stock.
All right, that's the view then. But with that, we've come to the end of the query segment. But before I let you go, Raja, stock picks for our viewers this morning.
Yeah, so I would like to go in with a buy and a sell, considering the nature of the market. So I would be a buyer in Titan. I'm seeing a steady up move from lower levels. So I would be a buyer above 3080 with a stop at 3050 for a move towards 3135. And I would have a sell call in UPL, considering the chemical space, around 585 with a stop at 595 to 593, 595, and a target of 575 to 570.
All right, a buy call on Titan and a sell call on UPL. With that, Raja, thanks a lot for taking out time and joining in this Friday morning. Wish you a very happy weekend. And thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts. It was a pleasure speaking to you as always.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Morning Trade from the entire team and me. Thanks a lot for tuning in. But stay tuned because coming up next is Opening Bell.